I believe we have a particularly special...
And we are on.
Yeah.
Is everyone ready?
Yeah. Who's next?
Everyone excited? Please help me welcome project lead and founder of Drupal, Dries Bayetert.
Welcome.
Thank you. Awesome. Hello, Atlanta. Hey. And congratulations for winning. I, too, was trying not to cry, actually, so very well deserved. All righty. Well, first of all, thank you for giving me an hour of your valuable time. We have a lot to talk about. We have been busy building, so we have a lot to cover. So I'm going to dive right in and get this show on the road, I guess. All right, so the plan for today is pretty simple. I'm going to give you a quick reminder of why we are doing Drupal CMS. I'm going to talk about our progress so far. I'm going to talk about what we have on the roadmap for 2025, so for this year. And then I'm going to unveil some new ideas about what we're going to do next. So stay tuned for those. All righty. So let's start with a quick reminder of the mission. I think as many of you know, hopefully, 11 months ago, we went on a mission. And we called that mission Starshot. That's our code name. And the goal was really to return to growth and innovation for Drupal. And so, specifically, we set out to launch Drupal CMS, which was a new version of Drupal with two really focus areas, I would say. One is we wanted to focus more on the marketers, the site builders, the content creators, those kinds of persona. And secondly, we wanted to better support the mid-sized organizations, medium-sized businesses. And we decided to do that in a variety of different ways, and there's a long strategy document online, but if I boil it down, we wanted to make it easier for people to build and launch and maintain websites. We wanted to amplify our marketing to tell the world about how great we are and all of the great things that we do. And then we wanted to accelerate innovation and change and evolve the way we collaborate to achieve these two first things. So that's a little bit of our goal. And so essentially, we decided to take a leap. We decided to take a big step forward, and hundreds of people volunteered to help last year. And so 11 months later, or earlier, 11 months ago, I should say, I stood on this stage, if you will, in North America, and we announced the initiative. We announced that we would build Drupal CMS, and today, I'm very proud to say that we delivered 8 months after we launched it the way that we said we would. So, applause for that, I think, yeah. I have to tell you, though, it wasn't always easy to deliver on time. And I actually remember after walking off stage a year ago, it felt like complete chaos. We had no plan, we had no strategy, we had no team, we had no funding, but we had hundreds of people willing to help. And so it was like, wow, are we actually going to be able to do this? And I can tell you that the Drupal CMS leadership team, we've had multiple moments like that along the way, where we weren't quite sure if we were going to pull it off. And of course, along the way, we've had naysayers and critics, people standing on the sidelines, ready to take, but not to contribute. But even so, we pulled it off. And in just 8 months, we delivered some amazing innovations. And that is thanks to these incredible makers. There's definitely more makers. I just wanted to show the top makers. And I wanted to show them on a slide, because if you're looking to do business in Drupal, I encourage you, you don't have to, but I encourage you to work with them, because the work that they do is ultimately good for Drupal. So say what you want, but we set an ambitious goal, and we were able to deliver thanks to this amazing team that you can see on the slides. Now, let's take a quick look at a video that the Drupal Association marketing team created to highlight some of the new features that we developed. There we go. Pretty cool. So of course now we're kind of in this weird period, you know, like the countdown finished, the engines ignited, the rocket took off, and everybody's kind of watching, holding their breath. You know, will we succeed? You know, and I definitely felt the same way actually when I walked into the Drupal CMS launch party in Boston. And because I was presenting there, I showed up a little early, you know, to help rehearse and set up those kinds of things. And I kind of walked into this empty room. It was a cake, but it was an empty room, and it felt a little bit eerie. And I had a little bit of this like party host anxiety, if you will. Like, will people show up for this party? Are people going to be as excited as I am about the launch? And I was definitely nervous, but then after a while, people showed up one by one, which was good. People hadn't seen in years. People new to Drupal CMS. They had no idea what it was, but they heard about it. Partners from around town. And so before I knew it, the room was packed, and we had a great celebration. And the energy was incredible. You know, it really, really was. And I know that wasn't just in Boston. You know, we had parties all around the world. So let's take a quick look at the celebration video that we created. Very, very cool, yeah. Yeah, it's very cool to see all these parties happening all around the world at the same time. And I often think, imagine what we could do if we better tapped into all of these local communities and collaborated all together in a way that we haven't done before. But I felt a lot of untapped potential, and I also felt that the energy is back and that the excitement is real. And I saw at these parties a community bustling with energy and with connection, which was really nice to see. I also saw a project that doesn't just follow trends, but actually sets them. And I've actually seen competitors, and I saw them think, why didn't we do that first? And I'm sure some of you saw, but Optimizely, they did a press release about their AI innovations. They were kind of bragging about all of the things that they did. And a little bird told me that they put out that press release after they watched all of the great AI innovation in Drupal. I was talking to Matt Mullenweg from WordPress, and he really loved the recipe concept. And he said, I wish WordPress adopted recipes. And so I think these are great things. You know, I love it because when Drupal leads, others take notice. And that's something that we should be proud of. I also saw a community that's bigger than code. You know, it's all about the people. And in the push to get Drupal CMS released, I saw a very diverse community come together. People from all around the world. You saw it in the video. And not just developers, but strategists, designers, business leaders, marketers. So many people got involved, all working side by side to get Drupal CMS released, to build something that's bigger than themselves. I also believe that decline is a choice. You know, we could have chosen to do nothing. We could have chosen to carry on as usual. We could have chosen to stay in our comfort zone, but we actually chose growth. You know, we chose to step up, we chose to do the hard work and to evolve as a project. And let's be real, if we don't evolve, we'll die. You know, we'll be replaced by newer, shinier CMS, if you will. But here's the thing. I'm not convinced these new CMSs, they have the same passion for open source and the open web as we have. And that is why when I stand here and I tell you that these things matter, that I hope you really believe me, you know? Because I think the open web needs us. I really do believe the open web needs us. And some of the features in Drupal CMS like the privacy and the consent management capability, they're not just good for Drupal, they're actually good for the web, for everyone. And so behind some of these features, I saw a community that's very committed to the future, a good future, the future of the open web, and a community that carries our open source values forward and promotes them. So thank you. Thank you for showing up. Yeah. Yeah, maybe if you were part of the Drupal CMS launch or building it in any way, please stand up for a second, because I want to thank all of you. Yeah, please stand up if you contributed. Been really amazing. I think we've never done something like this in our 24-year history of Drupal, so very, very special. And if you're still wondering why this matters or why Drupal CMS is important, just listen to our Drupal certified partners. They see it too.
Progress has been amazing. One of the things that I've been most impressed with is how that entire community has been mobilized, from user experience, design, accessibility, as well as obviously software developers, to create a product that is really game-changing.
A comprehensive CMS that can truly empower everyone.
Drupal CMS will save days or even weeks of effort configuring a new site. And once Experience Builder is ready later this year, Drupal CMS will be the new gold standard for no-code site building.
Drupal CMS is an incredibly exciting next step for the whole Drupal community.
Drupal CMS is able to lower the cost of ownership and maintenance of a Drupal project.
The demo is jaw-dropping. Drupal's never been more delicious. Squirrel!
The AI demo showed me a whole new dimension of what was possible with Drupal, and that's when my expectations shifted from casual interest to genuine excitement about where this could go.
Drupal CMS is the biggest news in Drupal since I started using Drupal. Everyone I talk to is excited about orienting the user experience for content editors and marketers. And once we have Experience Builder in the mix, just the speed is going to bring so much more power to that content editor experience.
So the progress made so far is really exponential. From being opinionated, driving decisions forward, and making sure that things get out to the users versus waiting to see if it's the perfect or right thing along the way.
So I want Drupal CMS to be easy enough kids can watch it.
Can I make a site?
Yeah.
That was cool. I think I'll do projects.
Your first 2 Drupal CMS websites online.
Now that there's a clear objective, progress just seems much faster. So with these pre-configured common features already there, it allows you to save both time and budget. And instead you can focus your efforts in areas where real value can be added to your project.
The real enabler to win customers. We landed a really big Open DXP deal with Drupal, with the returning Drupal customers.
Drupal CMS really empowers marketers straight out of the box.
Seeing the community galvanize around this initiative and also seeing the amazing byproducts that have come out of this concentrated energy that everyone has put in to Drupal over the last year has completely changed our minds and been incredibly inspiring.
I really appreciate the work being done on AI recipes and the Experience Builder. Those features seem to have a lot of potential, and I'm excited to see what you come up with.
Drupal today is way more accessible to content creators, marketers, and other non-technical user groups.
What makes me really excited about the Drupal CMS is the fact that we can now market it to people that have maybe never used Drupal or doesn't know Drupal, and I think it comes with a lot of possibilities.
It really is a big deal.
Best of all, everything in Drupal CMS is built with Drupal core and contributed projects. Completely open, supported by the Drupal community, highly secure, and totally free.
All in one.
Very nice, very nice, and funny. All right, so we've made some fantastic progress to date, and I hope you all feel it. So, and yet, when we launched Drupal CMS, I knew we wouldn't make it to the front page of the New York Times, but I was hoping we would get some media coverage in leading technology publications. After all, it was our biggest release in like a decade. And 3 months later, since the launch, we haven't really made it to any major technology publication. And honestly, to me, that was one of the disappointments, that the rest of the world didn't see all of the amazing things that we had done in just 8 months of work. And so we have some more work to do. Now, I also posted the release on Reddit. I know, very brave of me. But it did have the effect that I was hoping for, which was a lot of new people, non-Drupal people, they took notice and they actually tried it out. They tried out Drupal CMS, which was really nice. And there was a lot of positive reactions. Which was really nice to see. But there was also some honest feedback. And by that I mean, not everybody liked it, and that's okay. And we had comments like this one. Where are the puppies? With a typo, by the way. I'll let you spot it. People said things like, wake me up when the experience builder is ready. And that was actually a common theme. A lot of people that were asking for more themes, for more design elements, for better page building, these kinds of things. There was a variety of comments also about it still being a bit hard to install. People struggled with the installation in different configurations. And so my first reaction was like, come on. Like, we just spent 8 months working really hard, and we had all of these amazing innovations like recipes and AI, and this is all you can say? And then I took a step back, and I realized they have a point. They're right. And feedback is a gift, even if it stings a little bit. Yeah. And so, of course, we knew that Drupal CMS 1.0 wasn't the finish line, right? It was always a milestone. In fact, we have a strategy document that I mentioned, and it sets out a 3-year strategy. And so we made a lot of progress, but we're only 1/3 in. We're 1 year into a 3-year strategy. And so we have a lot of work ahead. We still need to work on making it easier to create, build, and launch websites. We still have to shout louder so that people know all of the great things that we're doing. And we still need to accelerate innovation even more so that we can do all of these things. And so we knew it was going to take some time before we would arrive at our end goal, so to speak. So let's talk a little bit about what we have in development for this year and how we're going to get to these goals in the next kind of 12 months. All right? So I'm going to cover 4 things. I'm going to talk about onboarding, marketing, experience builder, and AI. And we're going to start with onboarding. So when we launched Drupal CMS, we actually generally thought it was going to be easy to install for many people, or at least I did. But once we saw people struggling a little bit, like in the Reddit comments, we basically didn't wait. And we jumped in, and we tried to make it easier for people to try and install Drupal CMS. So the first thing that we did, actually, is we launched a trial experience. So basically, no installation required. You can just go to the website, fill out this form, click a button, and you can start trialing Drupal CMS, which has been pretty good. Thousands of people have tried it, which is great. But then we also learned that some people, they wanted to do more, install more custom modules, recipes, all of these things. And so we decided to do something else, something extra. And so I'm going to let Gabor talk to what we did. So let's take a look.
Hi, I'm Gabor Hojci, Contribution Coordinator for Drupal CMS. And let me tell you about this remarkably simple yet super exciting open source desktop app that we built for Drupal CMS. This is not yet available on Drupal.org, but you can download it from GitHub. And we are building it for macOS on Apple Silicon, macOS on Intel, and also for Windows. And once you download the appropriate app for your operating system, you can install it like any other app. In this case, for macOS, you copy it over to your applications folder and then run it from there. This is an app that contains everything to run Drupal CMS. So while on the first run, it uses Composer in the background to install all the components for Drupal CMS, you don't need to know about that. Once it's done, you get a nice visit side button that allows you to go into the Drupal CMS installer and pick your favorite features. Whenever you relaunch the app, it will always continue where you left off. because we store all of the files and also the SQLite database in the documents folder. So you can find all of Drupal in there. We don't know what the future holds for this app, but we are super excited about it, and we're looking forward to your feedback. Enjoy.
All right. Yeah. And I know what the future holds. We're going to add it on that download page. And you can see a mock-up here. It's not live yet, but it should be live in the next couple of weeks. And so basically now people have two great ways to trial Drupal CMS. They can do the trial experience, no installation required, or there's a very easy way to install it on your desktop and to get started that way. So I think the people on Reddit will be pleased. Well, we'll see. We'll see. All right. What about marketing? Let's talk a little bit about marketing. So, you know, in the last 11 months, I think it was, 10.5 months to be exact, we made a lot of progress on marketing. So just as a quick reminder, we launched a new brand for Drupal, which is great. 2, we started rebuilding Drupal.org to reflect that brand. And then most recently, we actually hired 2 product marketers at the Drupal Association to help with the marketing of Drupal. So all of these are important steps to help promote what we're doing and to make sure people know about it. But we have to do more. And so let's talk about that. And so we've been listening very carefully and closely to our Drupal certified partners. You know, these are the companies that contribute to Drupal. I call them the makers. And one thing is clear right now, and that is that the market is tough. You know, budgets are tight, leads are down. And so as we think about promoting and marketing Drupal more and more, we want to do it in a way that we also support our makers, the people that actually built Drupal. And I know Tim Doyle and the Drupal Association is pretty focused on that. And we essentially want to provide more value for the makers while promoting and marketing Drupal. And we're trying to do that in more and more meaningful ways. And one way that we're going to do this is by redesigning the case studies pages on Drupal.org. So each of the case studies will look a lot better visually, but then at the bottom of each case study, there will be a form that can basically put an end user, a prospect, directly in touch with a certified partner, like you can see on the screen, which will be great for them. And it's great for the end user as well. We're doing the same thing with the organizational profiles. So you can see that here. We're redesigning them. We're putting a lead form behind it. And we're doing all of these things because when our makers do well, Drupal does well, right? And that's why we're focused on giving them all the tools that they need. And last week, the Drupal Association sent out actually a Drupal CMS marketing pitch deck to all of the certified partners, so they can actually better pitch Drupal CMS to prospects. And so pretty excited about it. If you win Drupal CMS deals, please let me know. I really want to hear about it. I want to promote it on stage as well. So all of these things are great, I think. But what's really going to move the needle is what I'm going to talk about next, all right? And that's Experience Builder. I already mentioned that all of the people on Reddit want it. But I can tell you from talking to the Drupal certified partners, and I do talk to them, and I ask them, like, what do you want the most? What do your end users need the most? And the answer that I often get is Experience Builder. And actually, you saw it in the little video that I played. Experience Builder was mentioned multiple times. So it's not just Reddit, it's everyone, and I certainly agree. I think of Experience Builder as kind of the next big thing in our vision to bring Drupal CMS to life. And so today, I'm excited to show you some of our progress. I have 2 videos for you that I want to play. One is a video focused on new features for end users. And the second video is a video with features focused for front-end developers. So I'm going to play them both pretty much back to back. So let's take a look.
Hello, my name is Balint Cleary. I'm a software engineer and consultant. Acquia has been funding me to work on Experience Builder full-time. It's my pleasure to give you an update on our progress. In this video, I'll show you multi-page editing, sections, and global regions. This is a demo site with a few pages using the Drupal brand for content. The Edit button takes you to Experience Builder. You have seen before how you can visually edit content. What's new is that any changes you make will be automatically saved as a draft version, and you can switch to other pages anytime, make edits there, go back and forth as you like. Content is continuously saved. This is an immersive experience that looks at content editing more holistically, where changes can be coordinated across multiple pages. When everything is ready, you can publish the complete set of changes across all pages at the same time. Going back to the pages I built, here's a part that took a bit longer, given that it consists of multiple layers of components. Let's say you would like to reuse all of this. You can now save this as a section. Then it becomes available as a starting point for editing content. It can be inserted on any page, and when you do, it creates a new copy of what you saved before. You can freely make changes. Those will not affect any other pages or instances of the same section. So far, we've only been working with the content specific to these individual pages. But how about footers, headers, and other regions of the website, which are supposed to stay the same across all pages? Experience Builder now allows you to visually compose those once you enable the feature in your theme settings. Here, you can see how I was building a new footer for my website. Here's how you can send components to a global region. You don't need to worry about accidentally dragging something to these global regions. Either you use the contextual menu you've just seen, or you can double-click a region in the layer sidebar. Here's how, for example, you can make an update in the header. Changes to the global regions are also tracked individually. You can review them and hit publish when you're happy, just as with pages. In this case, I made a typo when I updated the header, so let's undo that before I publish. These were some of the content editing fundamentals where we made progress within Experience Builder. We hope you like them.
Yeah. Yeah. A big shout out to the Experience Builder team. Some amazing work. And it looks so easy, but there's actually many improvements here, like layers, reusable components, global regions, undo, multi-page editing, and more. And all of this brings us closer to our vision of making Drupal CMS easy to use for marketers and site builders, which is great. And honestly, I can see organizations switch to Drupal just for Experience Builder. I really believe that's going to happen. So pretty exciting, very powerful, yet easy to use. Now let's take a look at the second video. Back to Balint.
Experience Builder is already shaping up to be a powerful content editing tool. I'm also very excited about the new features we are introducing for front-end developers. Before we dive in, let's take a look at how you can create components for Experience Builder today. Right now, there are two approaches. In a couple of minutes, I'll introduce a third, a brand new way to create components. Blocks are native to the Drupal module ecosystem. They're useful in cases like dynamic data fetching or where custom PHP logic is required. Experience Builder works with them without any special treatment. They simply show up under dynamic components. And block settings also work on the editing UI as you would expect. Single directory components are Drupal's answer to component-driven front-end architecture, providing a way to build a design system. You can combine markup, styling, and JavaScript logic in a reusable way. The names, types, default values, and options of these props are defined in a YAML file. The display of the component is handled with a twig file, which receives the prop values. And finally, some CSS for the styling. The third and newest way to create components is writing them in JavaScript within the browser using Experience Builder's built-in code editor. Here's how it works. I wanted to have a component for my Starshot initiative page that allows me to visualize the status of a project. So I set out to build a component that I call Project Card. I can create it from the UI. Then I find myself in a code editor where I can start coding my component in React. I started with some basic markup. Then it was time to add some styling, which you can simply do under a different tab. As I was doing all of these updates, a live preview was shown. Compiling the preview is happening seamlessly in the browser using WebAssembly. Experience Builder comes with built-in support for Tailwind CSS, so I decided to convert my component to Tailwind. After that, it was time to get into the zone and build out the component. I wanted to add a link in the form of a Drupal logo, then I wanted to display a simple status badge, and finally, I added a nice visual progress bar. Once I like the markup and styling, I can make all the values configurable by adding props. Doing that for in-browser code components follows the same patterns for props and slots as single directory components do, but we can create them from the UI. I added props such as the title for the card or the status, which will be shown as a select list for the end users. My component is ready and saved as a config entity. We are working on automated build tooling to make sure these components can be shared and automatically compiled when deployed to different environments. Now that my new component was ready for action, I could simply add it to my page and use it the same way as I would use other components. To build my component, I did not have to set up a development environment. No configuration, no code deployment. There is a built-in code editor with a real-time preview ready to go anytime. This makes tweaking or creating components accessible even with no Drupal knowledge. We also built modern tooling, starting with React and Tailwind CSS compilation, all in the browser using WebAssembly. If you have pre-existing components or a design system, you can now integrate them into your Drupal site. It's also really fun to freely experiment and iterate with front-end code. You can even use AI tools and copy-paste into Experience Builder. JavaScript components open a whole new frontier for Drupal experience building.
All right, that's a demo. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of developers in this room, so I knew you were going to like that, and which is good. And I hope you noticed that, like, really in the example, like, no Drupal knowledge, like literally zero Drupal knowledge was required to build that component, which is pretty good, I think. It will help people get started. So, very, very exciting progress. The good news is you can try all of this today. This was real, and the best way to try it is to use this GitHub link. I'll let you take a photo. But basically, it's a demo project. If you install it, it comes with some, predefined pages, pre-created, so you can immediately start editing those pages, etc. There's also sessions about Experience Builder here this week, where we'll dive into more details about how all of this works. It's currently in alpha, which is exciting, and we're trying to make it available as Experience Builder 1.0 by DrupalCon Vienna. It's about 7 months from today. And at that time, we're going to have to release Drupal CMS 2.0 because of the amount of changes that Experience Builder will bring. So maybe we'll have to do another global launch party. I don't know. We'll see. That would be nice, wouldn't it? All right. Let me give you an update on AI real quick. And I could probably fill a whole hour on AI, but unfortunately, I don't have another hour. But the AI community in Drupal is really taking off. Adoption has almost tripled since we introduced it about a year ago. More and more large organizations are getting involved, like the European Commission, United Nations. They're all experimenting with Drupal AI. Pretty special. And the European Commission even did a hackathon specifically for Drupal AI, which was also great. And I think they like it because obviously Drupal has a technical lead on AI relative to competitors, and obviously because Drupal is open source as well. When I showed off AI in Barcelona, we had five agents at the time. Today, we have over 30 different Drupal AI agents, which is pretty cool. And there's even an AI agent that creates other AI agents. I mean, it's wild. And unfortunately, I can't show you that today, but I'm sure Jamie and Marcus will show it here at DrupalCon. So go find their session. But I think the AI framework is actually evolving much faster than I think many of you know. It's going really, really well. And I have a weekly call with Jamie. And in one of my calls, I threw him a challenge. And I told him, like, hey, I'm going to talk about Experience Builder quite a bit in the keynote. Do you think you could use the latest version of the AI framework to show off kind of an integration with the Experience Builder? And I expected him to say no, because it was like last week. But he said yes. And I expected it would take a while, but literally less than 2 days later, he came back to me with a demo video, as Jamie and Marcus do. And so I'm going to show it to you right now.
We've seen a powerful new set of tools and UIs for Experience Builder, where you can edit a component directly in the browser. But I'm not a developer. I can make sense of code and make a couple of edits here and there, but could there be something for me? At DrupalCon Barcelona, we introduced our Drupal CMS AI agent to the world. Dries announced that AI is the new UI. Maybe there could be something that can help me here. Now I don't want a blank canvas. What if I could get started with an image to make my component and no code? Figma is all the rage right now. In order to make that image, what if I could leverage the tools I'm already familiar with to get started with my component? And then when I have it, what if I could get help making edits and refinements? I'm excited to show you a small teaser of our new suite of Drupal CMS AI agents for Experience Builder. What you can see here is the starting image of the component we would like to make. We're going to use this image, and we're going to use the new Drupal CMS AI agents to help us build it using the new in-browser code component builder. After creating a new blank component, we're able to upload the image and then ask AI to help us create this component without any code right there in a browser. Here we can see the new component gets created immediately, right before our very eyes. Now, it's not quite perfect yet, so I'm able to refine the component. We're going to start by making sure the gradient of the background has this much nicer purple. And then we're going to take a look at the Get Started, which is a little bit too blocky, and make it more rounded. And the announcement pre-UI Figma is live is kind of purple, and it was supposed to be gray. So we're like comparing it to the original image and asking it to make little changes and tweaks. You can see the CSS is changing dynamically right here in the browser. So I can see the impact, compare it, and make little changes if I want to, or even undo the things that AI has done. Now you can see we've had to go through a few steps to get to the finished product, but the new agent framework that's coming soon will actually be able to do this behind the scenes for you. The agents themselves will build it and check it and compare it to the original thing and then make some tweaks. And there you go, it works. Here you can see what happened before, and this is what we've got to afterwards. It's not quite a perfect one-to-one match yet, but this is just the beginning. Working with Experience Builder has been a dream. The architecture makes working with AI even more intuitive and safer. The changes happen in the browser, so you can decide when you want to publish them. They work with Experience Builder's existing built-in undo functionality. By allowing the agents to review its work and try again itself, there may be less need for back and forth. Now, as many of you are probably thinking, can we take this further? If we have a component created by an image, why not the whole page? If we can build a whole page, why not the whole site? Well, we are working on bringing this initial dream of Figma to Drupal to eventually allow for AI-assisted full site migration, including the data and the theme. We'd love for you to join us in #AI in Drupal Slack to help bring this AI-enhanced future to Drupal.
Yeah, there we go. It's really, really cool. I think it's just mind-blowing that you can literally take any image on the internet and instantly turn it to an experience builder component. I think about how impactful that can become for end users as well, so not just for front-end developers. So pretty cool. Stay tuned for more. There's also sessions about this here at DrupalCon, so go look for those sessions. All right, so that's a little bit of what we've done so far and what we have in the roadmap for 2025. And I think we can all be proud about the progress that we've made, and I think hopefully everybody's excited about what's going to be delivered this year. So now let's talk a little bit more about what we haven't talked about yet and what's maybe around the corner for us. All right, so first let me say that with Drupal CMS, we're aiming for the stars. You know, it's in the name, Starshot, as you can see here, and obviously we're not the first people to be inspired by space. But first, actually, let me ask you, put your hands up if you have played with Lego when you were young. All right, basically everyone, yeah. And maybe keep your hands up if you're still playing with Lego. Yeah, I knew it, I knew it. Very funny. This is me playing with Lego, you know? Yeah, my hair wasn't as spiky, or not spiky at all. But like many of you, I grew up playing with Lego. And at my grandparents' house, for example, I remember that these bins full of bricks, and thousands of them, different sets mixed together. And whenever I would visit my grandparents, I would dump them on the floor. And it was both exciting and maybe slightly overwhelming, too, to have all of these bricks. Possibilities were endless, and my creations, I don't know. I think my first cars were kind of like Frankenstein-like cars with different kind of wheels versus, all the same wheels, and rockets that maybe looked like rockets if you squinted your eyes kind of thing. But it was all part of the fun. The building, the learning, the experimenting. It was such a great feeling. If I think about that, it was such a great feeling, except maybe when you stepped on one of those bricks. But other than that, it was great. So let me tell you a little bit about the history of Lego, actually. So Lego actually started in 1932, and they were making wooden toys, believe it or not. And it wasn't until 1958 that they basically had invented the Lego brick that we know today. It took them 20 years, more than 20 years, to get to this Lego brick. And it was actually a very clever system. They called it a system in play, and it basically means that every Lego piece ever made works with every Lego piece that ever will be made. And still today, you can buy a new Lego piece, and it will work with a piece of Lego from 30 years ago. And it will probably work with a piece of Lego you can buy 30 years from today. Pretty cool, I think. And that was one of their clever things. And so for years, Lego would sell generic bricks. You could build anything with them. And then in the 1970s, they introduced these sets, like the castle, space, town. They had a few sets back in the 70s. And all of a sudden, people weren't just buying collections of bricks anymore. They were actually buying these very structured sets. And it was very good for them. If you look at this chart, you can see that because of these sets, Lego grew extremely fast. And I actually remember my first set, which was a castle that you can see on the screen. And the thing that was interesting about these sets too, like people thought it would limit creativity buying these sets, but in fact, it did the opposite. It accelerated kids' creativity, which is a little bit counterintuitive. And certainly I was hooked. I asked for Lego for my birthdays, Christmas, and so on, and ended up with quite a bit of Lego, which was nice. Now, why am I telling you this, right? And I'm sure you can see where I'm going with this too, and I'm certainly not the first person to spot the similarities between Drupal and Lego. We've talked about that for many years. And in fact, there's a great presentation by Kristen. She did a presentation at that camp just last year where she tells you a lot more about the history of Lego and the similarities with Drupal. So I encourage you to check it out. When I post my slides, I'll make sure to add a link to her video as well. But yeah, so basically Drupal, for 24 years, we've been making bricks, modules. You know, we are a collection of powerful, flexible modules, very much like Lego bricks. And then more recently with recipes, you know, introduced in Drupal CMS, if you will, we basically started to move on from there. And as a reminder, recipes are essentially a bundle of modules. We pull in these modules along with some content and configuration. It's an oversimplification, but essentially think of it as a head start. You know, very much like my old Lego castle. And in the case of Lego, it was Lego's designers that put all of the thinking and the designing into creating these kits. And it's just like that with Drupal CMS and recipes, right? In our case, some of our most experienced Drupal developers, they've spent days and weeks creating these recipes and implementing the best practices that they themselves have learned over doing Drupal for over a decade. And so with Drupal recipes, you can essentially build in minutes what once took hours or days. Now, in the case of Lego, this combination of bricks and sets and the system in play, it did really well for them. And they actually were named the toy of the century. Pretty good. Not the toy of the year, not the toy of the decade, but the toy of the century. It's kind of a big deal, if you ask me. And so it really accelerated their growth. But what you might not know is that 3 years later, Lego was actually on the edge of bankruptcy. People were wondering, like, are they going to make it? Are they going to survive? And the reason is that there were all these external threats. You know, TV became more popular with kids, video games, computers, the beginning of the internet. They were basically all competing for the hearts and minds of their kids, and probably their pocket money too. And Lego actually reacted with this bewildering amount of innovation. They created this Lego Glider, I think it's pronounced, but it was like the least Lego-like thing that they've ever built. And it was an instant flop. You know, they did other things, like they created theme parks, they created Lego shops competing with their retailers that were very loyal to them for many, many years. And so it was a total crisis. You know, it was a really bad situation for them. But eventually, they were able to turn it around. And they were able to turn it around by going back to their roots, the bricks and the sets. You know, they killed everything else. And this time, though, they had a special force on their side. And this is no moon, by the way. But they had done a partnership. With Star Wars, and it turned out to be a huge success. You know, retailers loved it, kids loved it, parents loved it. And so they ended up creating this world, Star Wars Lego world. And these worlds, they were bigger, more complex, more detailed. And it's actually one of the things, definitely not the only thing, but it's one of the big things that helped them survive as a company. Pretty cool, I think. But what happened next is actually out of this world. Look at this chart. You know, their sales went through the roof. And this ended up being one of the largest business transformations in history. So you might wonder what happened. Well, the success of Star Wars opened the door for many of these deals. And if you check it out today, they have literally dozens, hundreds of these worlds. You know, from Harry Potter to Ninjago to Jurassic Park to Spider-Man to Friends. I mean, you name it. They have like a world for each of these things. So what can we learn from that, right? That's the question. So Drupal is great at making bricks. We recently introduced sets or recipes. And now, I think it's time to make worlds. All right? In order to get there, we're going to start with recipes. This is the image that I showed you earlier, where we're combining modules. But this time, we're going to combine recipes. We're going to bundle recipes. We're going to add a theme, look and feel. This will be an experience builder-based theme with experience builder components that we just shared with you. We're also going to add relevant default demo content. We're calling these things a site template. All right? So let me talk a little bit more about it. Some of you might remember Sarah. We'll remember Sarah. All right, many people. Great. Well, Sarah is the marketer that I showed you at DrupalCon Barcelona. And she's on the marketing team of a medium-sized business that's organizing wine tours. And, you know, she wanted to have a more powerful, flexible CMS, and we promised it to her in Barcelona. And we built Drupal CMS 1.0, right? Which, again, as I explained, is a great step forward. But we're also not quite there yet for Sarah. You know, Sarah needs more from us. And what Sarah needs is site templates, honestly. When she looks at our competitors, they offer her hundreds, sometimes thousands of these site templates. Because yes, she needs these recipes, like media and SEO and events, but she probably also wants kind of a gastronomy theme, you know, for the right look and feel and some relevant demo content. Because let's face it, if Sarah installs Drupal CMS today, it kind of looks like every other Drupal site. You know, I'm not saying it looks bad, but it just looks like every other Drupal site, and she still has to invest in building a theme, and she also gets a bunch of irrelevant demo content. So it kind of looks, what she wants is something like this, you know, an out-of-the-box experience that gets her much, much closer to what she wants to build. And that is what templates will hopefully do. So this is some of the big news, and I'm very excited about it, to be honest, because if we get this right, it means many people, many organizations will be able to launch beautiful, powerful Drupal sites basically instantly. And we're committed to it. We're going to build this. We hope to have the first site templates available this year. Now, how are we going to do this? Well, we haven't built any yet. So step one is we need to figure out how we build one. All right? And then we're hoping that we can have a few ready by DrupalCon Vienna in 7 months. And if you want to get involved, Drupal CMS templates in Slack is where you can get involved. Now, obviously, we're not going to win with 2 or 3 of these templates. What we're going to need is hundreds of stunning, high-quality site templates, hopefully in the next few years. You know, templates that inspire, templates that showcase Drupal's power and strength, templates that make site building effortlessly. And we're going to need your help and your expertise to make all of these templates happen. And we're probably going to have to attract more people to Drupal, designers, product-oriented people to help build hundreds of beautiful templates like that. Now, last weekend, I was actually, well, the weekend before this weekend, I guess, we were going skiing, and we had to stop at Walmart to charge our car. And so we had a little bit of time to kill, and we decided to go into Walmart. And when I walked in, I couldn't believe it. Like, they had 2 aisles of Lego worlds at Walmart. And so it made me realize that it's not just about having sets, but it's also about working with retailers to secure prime shelf space, like clearly Lego had done with Walmart. And so there was a bit of a harsh reality here. Like, you can have the best product in the world, but if nobody knows where to find it, your product might not survive, right? So there is a lesson here as well. So we always made fantastic bricks. We started making sets with recipes. I already said we're committed to building site templates, but now we also need shelf space, right? We need a marketplace for these site templates, you know, just like the Lego aisle at Walmart. So let's talk a little bit more about that. Now, marketplaces aren't a new idea. We have competitors that figured this out. Webflow, you can see it here. Shopify, I mean, there's many. Actually, here's actually a screenshot of just the food and drinks category at Webflow. So the category that Sarah might be interested in. And they have 450 templates just in food and drink. You know, shelf after shelf of ready-made site templates. Like, how do you think Sarah feels when she comes to Drupal.org, you know, and is looking for like a template compared to the experience that she has going to Webflow? Not very good, I would think, right? And so the Sarahs of the world, our end users, they are looking for these ready-made worlds. They're looking for these templates. And if we don't give it to them, somebody else clearly will, right? So site templates we're committed to. We're going to build those. We need your help still, but we're going to build those. The marketplace is something that is under evaluation. You know, it's a discussion. And it's a discussion because we need your help. You know, there's some big decisions with having a marketplace that potentially impact all of us. So let me talk to you a little bit more about that as well, all right? So the first thing we actually did is we built a team. We combined some of the Drupal CMS leadership team with the Drupal Association, and specifically the Innovation Working Group, which is a combination of staff as well as board members. And we've actually been meeting for many hours about this idea. And I want to give a shout out to Tiffany. That's Tiffany. For facilitating these meetings. Yeah. If you know Tiffany, this looks exactly like Tiffany, I will tell you. So yeah, we've been meeting for hours, and one thing I would say that we're convinced about is that we do need some kind of marketplace to fulfill our vision with Drupal CMS, right? Our vision is to make Drupal CMS the gold standard for marketers. That's in our strategy document. And this is kind of our best, biggest next idea after Experience Builder and site templates, if you will. So like we want to put that in the pipeline. And it's our best, biggest next idea because it changes how we can position Drupal. Like today, we say Drupal is super flexible. You can use it for anything. You know, it's the equivalent of a bag of Legos. It's hard to visualize for people what you can actually build with it, right? And a marketplace makes it much more tangible. You know, it shows exactly what you can build with Drupal. And to grow Drupal adoption, I think we need to show more, not just tell. So as the saying goes, seeing is believing. Now, we did have a lot of discussion, as I said, about the idea of a marketplace. And one of the big questions that we have is, should we have commercial site templates? Like, we're convinced we need free and open source site templates, but there's a question, should, in addition to free and open source site templates, do we also want to have commercial site templates? And there's pros and cons. You know, one of the pros is it could incentivize people to build the site templates because we want the beautiful templates, right, that are convincing. Could provide some revenue for the template makers. And through a rev share model, it could also provide some revenue for the Drupal Association, which would be good because, you know, the Drupal Association invests that money back into the Drupal project. So it would help with the sustainability, long-term sustainability of Drupal. Now, on the flip side, we also wondered, like, how might it impact our contributors? You know, does it change our culture? Is it ethical for us as an open source community to have commercial templates, right? So we talked about that quite a bit. And we basically came to some, not conclusions, but like we had some thoughts, I would say. And we said, well, actually, end users, the Sarahs of the world, they're already paying for site templates. Like they literally go and work with the digital agencies. Many of you are here. They're hiring the digital agencies. And so they're paying for site templates. They're just not happening on Drupal.org. So they're transacting outside of Drupal.org. Now, we also wondered, would it undermine the Drupal agencies? Because today, end users are paying tens of thousands of dollars for a theme and a site template. We thought about that carefully, and we felt like we don't think it actually would. You know, the organizations that are spending $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 and more, they're going to keep spending it because they're doing it because they want the expertise, the consulting, the strategy, the performance testing, the customization, all of these things. And a site template isn't going to give you any of that, right? So we think it will not actually impact the agencies. And so then we actually kind of concluded, or we agreed, I would say, that a marketplace is all about attracting new organizations to Drupal. And like actually everything that we've done in Drupal CMS is about attracting new users to Drupal and helping us grow. And then the idea is that, you know, some of the people that buy a template, they'll come back for more when they're ready for more, and they'll find their way to the maker of the template for customization. And so essentially, you know, some kind of percentage of the people that, you know, come in through the marketplace, they'll end up doing these larger, complex projects. And in that sense, these templates could be a powerful lead generation tool for the agencies. Now, one thing is certain, and everybody agreed on this, but the heart of Drupal, our modules, you know, the bricks that we all love building with, they will always be open source. All right, I can promise you that. That's not even up for discussion. Nobody even suggested that we would change that. Our modules will always be open source. And so marketplace is a big idea. I'm sure some of you are like, ooh. And a big idea comes with many questions. But we also believe that a marketplace can actually have a very positive effect on the Drupal community, including our partners and our makers. But we want to evaluate and execute that very carefully. So we created actually this board. This is a screenshot of our Miro board with all of the questions that we want to answer. Just to give you a sense, yellow stickies are about, is it feasible? Blue is about, is it sustainable? Purple is about, is it ethical and culturally aligned? And pink is about, is it desired? Like, would people actually want it? And we don't have the answers. We have not made any decisions, to be really clear. But our goal is to answer them together, you know? We also obviously want to involve you in that decision and in those conversations, our community and our partners. And we're basically going to start doing this at DrupalCon. We have a buff tomorrow that you can come to, where we can discuss this. And then after DrupalCon, we're going to have surveys and online discussions, quite a few things. And we basically wanted to make a decision by DrupalCon Vienna at the latest. So we're giving ourselves plenty of time, 7 months, to figure this out. Do we want it? Do we not want it? If we want it, what shape does it take? You know, free only, commercial, yes, no. So lots of questions. And we can figure this out, by the way, while we keep working on AI improvements, experience builder, site templates. You know, all of these things will continue to be worked on as we figure this out. So if you're interested in site templates or in the marketplace, we'll have a bunch of sessions about that. So I hope you're as excited as I am about site templates and the marketplace idea. And with that, let me bring it back to one last story about Lego. All right, so back in 2005, Lego realized that more and more kids were playing online. And so Lego basically set out to build a digital universe where kids could play online. And they spent 5 years developing it, and they invested $125 million. And in the process, they wanted it to be perfect. You know, so they created this digital brick, and as you can see, they even engraved the Lego in each of the studs, just like with a real physical Lego brick, right? Now, the problem was that it would basically trash kids' computers as they were trying to render thousands of these bricks. You know, like it just would crash their computers. And so 2 years later, they ended up shutting it down. You know, and that was one of the reasons. But also, Minecraft was one of the reasons. And Minecraft was like crude and blocky, but it was a lot of fun. It was exactly what people wanted. And you could build from scratch, or you could start with a marketplace, pre-built playable worlds. Kids could jump right in and start building. And honestly, this is the universe that Lego should have built. But they essentially got in their own way, trying to make it perfect, you know? And so the lesson, I think, that I took away from that is that we should always focus on what the end user wants. And we can't let perfect be the enemy of good. And I know we can do this, because the whole point of Drupal CMS was to focus on the end user, which we've been doing. And the whole point of Drupal CMS was also to be fast, but not perfect. So we've adopted that culture already in Drupal CMS. So to wrap up, like Lego, we started with bricks. We're expanding into recipes. We're expanding into site templates. Let's not forget about all of the other great things that we've been doing. Marketing, AI, experience builder. The question that I ask you now is, do we want a marketplace? And if so, what shape does it take, right? When I think back about my childhood dreams or days, I just loved playing with Lego bricks. And I could lose myself for hours. And as I said, it was the best feeling in the world, building these cookie cars and weird rockets. And I actually believe that we can recreate a lot of that feeling in Drupal, you know, and draw in many more people into our community. And I think it would be a great thing to do. I also know that Lego figured it out, minus the Lego universe bit. Minecraft figured that piece out, and now it's our turn to figure it out. And I believe we have all of the pieces. We just have to put it all together and build something great. And with that, I would like to say thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.